I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Fine, fine. Now it's again, it's nice weather outside, so always fine when the weather is great. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to see you actually. It's been a while, huh?
I
Yeah.
know, right?
You've been so busy.
Yes, yes. And we are so glad to be back today because it's our second episode.
Yeah.
Yay! So, this is the second episode for the Picture Book Matters podcast. And those of you who are watching us for the first time, we are the co founders of the Picture Book Matters and also the Picture Book Matters podcast. I'm Debasmita. I'm a graphic novelist and an illustrator. And I'm with Eva. Eva is an author and an editor. And as I said, we are the co founders of the Picture Book Matters, which is a platform through which we organize workshops and masterclasses for emerging and aspiring children's book authors and illustrators. So here we are today for our second episode of the Picture Book Matters podcast.
Yes.
Eva, what's our topic of discussion today?
So our topic today is collaboration. We're going to talk a little
Yay!
bit about, working together in creating picture books.
Mhm. Sure,
Okay.
sure. That
Yeah.
sounds like a very interesting topic, and especially when it comes to picture books, because most of the time, picture books are a collaborative work. I mean, there are authors and author illustrators rather, who can
Mm,
write and draw, but
mm.
a lot of times picture books are written by somebody and then illustrated by someone else. And there are also other people, other stakeholders involved. So we can talk a little bit more. So,
Sure.
how do you want to start?
Okay, I think I want to start with how we started, right? So
Great.
this was the book that brought Smita and I together. Okay, it's called The Boy Who Talks in Bits and Bobs. And that started our collaborative process and our and our friendship and our working relationship together, right? So how long ago was that? I don't remember. We met probably
I
2017,
think,
I'd
yes,
say.
2017 we met, and The Boy
2017,
was released in 2018, if I'm not wrong.
correct.
Yeah.
2018, The Boy was released. And so I had this story, and the story was acquired by an independent publisher in Singapore called
Mm.
Armor Publishing. And we were discussing, Armor and I were discussing, like, the illustrators, and we were looking at a list of illustrators, actually. So what it is that so if I go back to the beginning, right, when a writer submits a manuscript, and that manuscript is acquired by a publishing house, the publishing house would say, okay, I like your manuscript, we're going to publish it, let's work together to find illustrators. Usually it's the publishing house that comes up with these illustrators. I mean, they will ask, of course, the author, if the author has experience or knows someone who can illustrate the story. So that was how it started. And then I met Smita at an arts networking
Women in
event, I think.
Arts. Women in
Women in
Arts
Arts,
Network.
exactly. That is exactly what it is. And then we got talking, and then I told her my project, and she said, let's talk some more. And we talked some more. And then before we knew it, this book was produced. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds as if it's like really, really quick, but it wasn't, because there were so many things involved, right? So many processes and steps involved
Mm.
in this production. Um, so maybe you want to go through the, like your
Yeah, I
process.
mean, yeah, even before the process, I also want to mention this, that collaboration, especially between the author and the illustrator, when it comes to picture books, I think it's very important to have mutual respect and understanding.
Definitely.
That's the key. Like, yes, I mean, that's there for every relationship, right? But in this case in particular, I have seen that because authors, when they write something and after that they give it to the illustrator, sometimes there is this sense of from the author's point of view, it's a sense of this ownership that, oh my God, this is my story, and what are you going to do with it? That kind of a thing. And especially with first time authors, I have watched that a lot. Like, they'll always be very very possessive about their write-ups. And that's where I feel like, it has to be a very mutual relationship. One has to understand each other, one has to give space to each other, because a picture book is always a 50-50 collaboration. I mean, that's why
Oh,
it's called a
definitely.
picture book, right? Without the pictures, there's no picture book. So if you've written something and then it goes to the illustrator also owns it, also has a lot of responsibilities towards that manuscript. They want to do justice to the story, and it doesn't remain just your story anymore. It becomes our story.
Yeah, it's co-owned, isn't it, at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, I think for a lot of emerging or aspiring writers who just write like me, because I
Yeah.
don't illustrate, you're right, that there is this kind of sense of preciousness about the writing or the story, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in our workshops, we do talk about, like, we try to tell our participants that, as participants who are writers, right, that to leave that the visual story to the illustrator, because like
Yes.
the illustrator also has a story in mind visually, right,
Yes.
and
Yes.
will add value to the written story. And I think
Totally.
that's yeah.
Totally. And that
So
that
it is a
is
learning process, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I feel like, my collaboration with you in particular, I mean, we have also worked with other authors. I mean, I have worked with other authors, we have worked with other illustrators, and they're also great. But one of the things that keep us going for a very long time is because we know our boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, we
Yes.
really know that you have that trust in me that, okay, if I've written something, Smita will do justice to it, and
Yes.
I know that if I'm doing something, she will let me do it, she will let me experiment. So that understanding, I think, is very very important, because otherwise there is lack of trust. Usually, like you said, worldwide, picture books are created through publishers, where you have editors, art directors in between. They form the bridge between the
Right.
authors and the illustrators.
Right.
So if there are any confusions, these are the people who will actually mitigate those confusions. But like you said, in Singapore, the scenario is a bit different. And I think also in some other countries, it's like an author directly works
Yeah.
with the illustrator.
I think there are several types of collaborations. There are, of course, there's the self-publishing route that some people choose to take on.
Yeah.
So they will find the writer will normally find their own illustrator,
Yes.
and then work together like that. That's just one way to collaborate. There's the traditional route, like the route that I've taken and you've taken, where for me, I have an agent, and my agent sends out my submissions or my manuscripts to the publishing houses. Now, that's
Yes.
also another form of collaboration, because if you have an agent like I have, who is an editorial agent, they will be very interested to help you edit that manuscript to make it better
Yes.
before they sell it to other publishing houses, right? So that's also one form of collaboration. I mean, for instance, I've just submitted a manuscript to my agent loved it, said I will sell it, but before I sell it, can you revise this, make it like that? And I did that. So that went back and forth about 4 rounds, I think, before she then sold it to, or before she submits it, or before she submitted it to some publishing houses.
Yes.
We're waiting to hear back from them, right? And then when that happens, and if the publishing house then acquires the manuscript, there will be more rounds of editing. So then that becomes another collaborative process with the editor, right?
Yes.
So it's very layered, I guess.
Absolutely.
That's what I wanted to say. And I think it works the same way too for illustrations, isn't it? Because sometimes,
Yes.
like I remembered one of our illustrations for this, or one of your illustrations for this, we had to edit it
Yeah.
because and that kind of after reading the proofs, right? So that's another collaboration again. I mean, part of the
Yes.
collaboration again.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, talking about agents and collaboration with agents, I have had two agents so far. And
Mm,
the first agent, like it's also about different kind of contracts. I don't know whether we
mm.
want to really go into the technicalities in this session. We could
Yeah,
probably do that in another different session.
another one.
But
Yeah.
just to give you an overview about the, agent and illustrator relationship, because for illustrators work, it is also about your portfolio, and
Mm,
the agent is the one who would know, because they are working directly with publishers, so they are constantly promoting your portfolio. They are taking it to the art directors, to the publishers, and showing them the work that you're doing. And there is also you will have your portfolios on their websites. If
yeah.
most of these agents will have their websites, and your work will be showcased over there, so that some publishers or some editors, they can even shop around. There is this term of shopping around, for
Yeah.
illustrators. So they will go to these agents pages. Like in my case, currently I'm represented by this agent in the UK, right? And I
Mm,
have a portfolio page on their website. So whenever somebody comes to that website, they would be able to see the kind of work that I'm doing, and if they like my style, then they will contact my agent. So it's definitely, as you said, the rounds of discussions and feedback, that is always there. That is always going to be there as an integral part of any kind of
yeah.
collaboration when it
Yeah.
comes to creative outputs.
Yeah. And you want that feedback, don't you? You want that it's invaluable because, you are just one pair of eyes, or I'm just one pair of hands writing, or, one
Yes.
mind, right? So the feedback comes from it comes from a place of love, actually, because, it's not a criticism, it comes from a place of love, because they want the editors, they being the editors, they being the agent, they want you to produce, or they want to produce the best work there is.
Yes.
Of course, what the best is obviously always very subjective in any form of arts, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but feedback should not, I guess, for the emerging and aspiring writers out there, feedback is precious.
Yes.
And take it, I guess, you take it with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, try to absorb that, and then to make your work better. Because
Yes.
writing, as we say in our courses, isn't it, or creation, is a craft, right? And it keeps on getting better and better as you practice that craft.
Yes, yes. I think
Yeah.
it's all about, I mean, the kind of, whether it's about an author or an illustrator, our jobs are done a lot, like the chunk of the job is done in isolation, because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
working in my studio, you're working in your home, just
Yeah.
you're writing stuff, I'm producing, I'm illustrating.
Yeah.
There is no one
Yeah.
with you in this journey when you're actually creating it. So
Except your
that's
characters.
why, yes, of course. So that's why you need that kind of conversations, constructive conversations.
Mm,
Now there's also this thing about, when it comes to feedback, it also depends what is feedback
right.
because you might also end up, and I've seen you, like we have worked together on a couple of books, and there are moments when you also don't appreciate certain kind of feedback. The same goes with me. I also don't appreciate certain kind of feedback, and let's be honest about these things, that these things happen, as you said, because this is very subjective. You have created something from a space of conviction, and then when
Mm.
somebody tells you, okay, please change this or change these words or change these ideas, I don't know whether it's always for the better. There could be contradictory ideas sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, I think it's about how the person gives you feedback.
Yes.
I mean, there is an etiquette to feedback. And, definitely, because, in all the writing classes I've been on and the classes that I've taught, we talk about like, or the instructor will always say, here's an etiquette, read that etiquette on how to feedback to your fellow writers or to to your students, right? I mean, it doesn't help anyone if you say, I don't like this, or the color is wrong. Okay, it doesn't help anyone.
Yes.
You got to say like, oh, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for you, the person, because it could jolly well work for other people. So you're always you always bring it back to yourself. I didn't like, or this part didn't work for me. I'm talking about editorial, right? This part didn't work for me because, and you say why, right? Because it doesn't help anyone if you just say, I don't like it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Sometimes people are not in that position to tell you that, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's not working for me, but there's something which is not, because creative things are also like that, right? You listen to a piece of music and you feel like, okay, there is something wrong about this music, but I don't know what. It's the same with art. I have also seen that with illustrations.
Right.
People will say, but as you said very rightly, that way of giving feedback, that's also, I think, again, going back to that same point of trust and mutual respect, that you are doing something. Finally, everyone wants a good book.
Right.
So,
of course.
And each one of us, and this is something that I always, I have always felt it this way, even before I became an author illustrator. At some point when I used to do different jobs, I felt that you need to know what you are doing at this point. So, for example, in this book, if I'm the illustrator and you are the author, doesn't matter whether I can also write or not. I can't just start saying, oh, Eva, I am also an author. Let me tell you, please write it this way. That's where the problem starts. You say, I have to know this is not my role over here. My role over here is as an illustrator.
Yeah. No, but it's the same with editing. So I'm an editor as well. I'm a freelance editor, and people send me their work, and so I can't say, oh, write it this way. Maybe this story should be like that. But I can make changes. I can make suggestions like, oh, instead of having, say, grandma die, why don't we have grandma live? Okay, that of course changes the story, but as an editor, I make suggestions. As a writer, you have every right to say, oh, I want the story to go this way because, and then it's a back and forth, isn't it? It's a conversation, right? And it's a conversation all the time, right? So that's the editorial process. So, as an editor, I also have to work with editors because I'm also a writer. So at the moment, I'm working with an editor who is going through my story. They're going to publish it, but they want me to make a few changes. And the suggestions are so invaluable because, now that we are on our sort of third round, I think, and when I look at, the suggestions, the inline comments, they have changed the story, but the story has changed for the better, right? But she didn't say to me, write it this way, use this word, or don't say it like that. She just said, like, how about we do this? What do you think? So it's a, it's a process, right? It's a
absolutely. And it's, I mean, we have been lucky, like, I've also worked with some fantastic publishers, editors, art directors, and I keep on working with them. That's one of the reasons, because they just, first of all, they know who you are and what's your strength and what are your weaknesses. At the same time, they always encourage you. I have always felt, I mean, one of the reasons why I belong to the publishing industry, and especially the children's book and young adult, this section, because I have come across some fantastic people, some fantastic publishers and editors and art directors and agents. Like, they are so supportive. They always tell you, like, in a very good way, they will make you understand why they're making this point and why they're asking you to change certain things. And they will actually fight for you. If there
Totally.
is anything, like I've seen my agents fighting for my work, I've
Yeah,
seen editors fighting for my work, like, no, we want it this way, this is how
mhm,
it works, it makes more sense. So I have a
definitely.
lot of love and respect for those people and learned a lot from them. And I just hope that, whoever is also watching us today, if they're aspiring or emerging writers or illustrators, please keep this in mind, that this is what makes this entire ecosystem that we also talked about in the last episode, that ecosystem remains healthy when you
Oh,
have that
definitely.
love and respect, because nobody forced us to become authors and
Yeah,
illustrators.
yeah.
Right?
No,
We
no.
are here for our love,
Yeah,
so just love it and also spread that love.
absolutely, absolutely. And the more supportive we are as a writing or creative community, you know, the more work gets produced. You
Yeah.
know, that's what I'm, and there is of course always competition, isn't there? Let's get real here, right? There is, because we are innately human beings, there is an innate I guess urge to compete, but I also want to say that there is also plenty of room,
Yes,
for people to play in the playground, right?
absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. uh, I think we have covered quite a lot today.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Yes, we might
Yeah.
have a few more, ideas. And actually, I would appreciate if, our viewers or our listeners, if they have any questions, particularly regarding this topic, like the topic of collaboration, please
Mm.
feel free to write to us. You can always comment under the YouTube, channel, or you can write to us via Instagram or Facebook, or email us to picturebookmatters@gmail.com. And we would love to hear your questions, your queries. And if you want us to reinforce certain points, or certain points that we didn't touch upon today, we would love to
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Definitely. So the podcasts are always posted on YouTube, on our Instagram stories, right? And on Facebook, we have a Facebook Picture Book Matters page. So we're found there. We're just Picture Book Matters, very easy to find us. Yeah. So that's where we are. And then, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, absolutely. We want to hear from you. So don't forget to write to us. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.